What's going on, everybody? I am Kurt, and welcome to the next iteration of my content. On this episode, I'm going to actually talk about biology and thinking, how thoughts affect your body, how they affect your mind. And really, the way I want to dive into it is through a few of the resources that I've been studying most recently. Specifically Bruce Lipton and Dr. JoeDispenza. Both of these guys have been instrumental in terms of the sort of thinking and the way that they're delivering their content. And I think it's really valuable. And I want to share what I've picked up from it because it really piggybacks off of the ideas of gratitude and what we've seen and been talking about in some of the other stuff that I've been putting out. So with that said, let's get started. So the first thing is, a lot of this sort of study came for me back in 2017 when I had a really kind of rough year. I never ever had experienced the kind of just struggle, excessive stress, just long, prolonged challenges. And in 2017, a lot of things happened that kind of cascaded and made it worse and worse until a point where I just felt like I couldn't do anything. I was pretty much feeling like I was helpless, and that was the worst place to be. And about a year ago really is when it kind of happened, and the one thing that I hung on to was reading. I was able to consistently search and seek for solutions and answers, and I never lost hope. I'd gotten to a place where I'd never been before. And so although I wouldn't wish it on anybody, I will say that it can be a tremendous growth experience, because when you have a lot of emotion that's not what you want, it can really force you to make some major changes. And out of that has come a lot of strength, a lot of courage, a lot of self-awareness. And what I've learned through this process is that the Bruce Lipton and the JoeDispenzas, they're teaching some cool stuff. I grew up with a traditional education. I was an engineer. I actually did biology before my engineering. And so I learned a lot about chemistry and Newtonian physics. What I really didn't understand is this whole idea of the quantum theory, the quantum realm, which is really about possibilities. It's about perspectives and how you see things. And what I really like, and what I wrote up in my post, was that there's a lot of cool stuff here that expands your mind and really opens you up. So when you think about Dr. Bruce Lipton, he was a stem cell researcher back in like the late 60s. And what he found was that when he put his cells in different culture mediums, in the petri dishes, the DNA, the exact same DNA, would express different sort of output. And so he took that theory and really revolutionized the DNA theory and kind of went into this idea of epigenetics, which is the idea that it's not necessarily the DNA that you have, your genes, but the environment that affects your biology, what actually happens in your body and in your environment. And the way he kind of explains it is that, you know, if you're looking at the human body, we're trillions of cells, and we're just a skin-covered petri dish. And the culture medium we have is blood. And so our blood is affected by the hormones, the chemistry that our brain, our amygdala, and our nervous system is kind of sending into our body. And that is affected by what we're perceiving, whether it's out in the world or internally in our mind. And in today's society, a lot of people, especially business owners, where there's an endless amount of things to do in your job, and there's not really anyone to tell you that you're doing too much or too little, unless you have good mentors and leaders and you have a good sort of gauge for yourself. You can really feel like you're overwhelmed. You can feel like you're very stressed, and that can feed into this culture medium of your blood through the chemistry that you're sending in there. And those thoughts, whether it's things that are coming up in the future that you're worried about or the challenges you're dealing with currently, all of that, if you're not doing it well, can really process into your biology and affect you. So consciously implementing practices like recognizing gratitude, focusing on the things that are good in your life, can be a really powerful reinforcer and a way to really shift your biology based on what kind of you learn from the biology of belief if you study a lot of Bruce Lipton stuff. Dr. JoeDispenza, on the other hand, is also a fascinating individual. He was a triathlete, and what happened to him was he got into a major accident, broke several vertebrae in his spine, and was told by multiple doctors, I think 3 of them, that he was going to have a radical surgery if he was even going to have a chance of walking again. And he elected, through the power of belief, to basically decline any surgery, and then spent several weeks, I think months even, in the hospital visualizing the healing, the recovery of his body, basically transforming and healing himself. And through that process, he was able to make a full recovery, get back into competitions less than a few months later, and it was just a freak miraculous sort of thing. But it wasn't freak. He's published 3 or 4 books now. The first one, I believe, is what is it called? Evolve Your Brain, I think, is the first one. The second one is Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. And then the third one is You Are the Placebo. And then recently I've been reading, along with my buddy, the book Becoming Supernatural. And in these books, there's a lot of case studies about people with cancers, with uncurable diseases, mental disorders, just a slew of things. And what they've done is they've been able to go through his workshops, which are based on meditation and gratitude and love, and build these emotions and these sort of wave energies, and recover and have a full recovery and live in a very amazing state of their lives. So I'm kind of following both. I'm actually looking at maybe doing a Dispenza workshop here in the next 60 to 90 days. I don't have a whole lot of travel coming up, and I'd love to kind of just experience one of those events. But the main point here is that your thoughts are affecting the chemistry, which is affecting the genetics, which is affecting your body. So whether it's in your business and you're just feeling a bit overwhelmed, or it's something in your personal life that's affecting you, all of that plays into how your body is responding, how your nervous system is there. And it's kind of a cycle. If your nervous system is on a high alert, then obviously it's feeding into how you're feeling, and how you're feeling can often dictate how you're thinking. And then what you think and what you see is dictating how you feel. So it can be a tough loop to break. And that is a topic for another discussion. I won't go into it today, but what I will say is that just being aware of it is power, right? Knowledge is power. And if you have awareness instead of ignorance, you can understand that. And I think it's really cool to kind of study these individuals because they're bridging the gap. They're looking at, in Joe Dispenza's case, like quantum theory to describe how this is affecting the way people are the way the energy is and how it's affecting their bodies. And Bruce Lipton, who's a doctor and a scientist and a researcher, telling you, hey, here's the science. Like, we're seeing how the environment is affecting the genes, and how your blood is directly in the medium of your body is directly affecting what's going on with you. So I hope that's helpful. I'll put in some links. I've taken this knowledge and I'm still distilling it down and learning how to use it as a practical application, but I practice gratitude daily. And I shot up a podcast and wrote up some stuff about that. And you can kind of check that on the site. But gratitude is for sure really valuable. And I also do some mirror work. Louise Hay has a great book called Mirror Work, and in it, she really gives you a guide on how to kind of work the mirror, where you're kind of just looking at yourself and loving yourself. So check it out. I'll put some links in the description here. And until next time, keep crushing.